a world where nostalgia rages across the land, where everyone and their mother has a podcast, where there's still a movie trailer guy who says, in a world. Three friends revisit films, shows, and games that molded them as they search for answers to life, the universe, and everything in between. Settle in and join us for Screen Refresh.
Welcome back to Screen Refresh, a show where we revisit the films, shows, and games from our childhood to try and take another look at what we fell in love with. As always, or as sometimes, I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined by the rest of our Screen Refresh crew, hosts of equal stature, Nick, Tim, and now David.
Yar!
Hello there, David.
Bangarang.
Bangarang, Tim! Bangarang is a
Dean.
Jamaican word which means uproar or disturbance. Fun fact.
Wait, really?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Fun
Wait,
fact.
does that mean in Hook they're kind of using it as like an onomatopoeia then? Because they're like, we're making noise, the noise.
Or they're calling for uproar. Yeah, I guess is it a noun? It's a bangarang is a disturbance, so it's a noun.
It does sound a lot better than to yell out, call for uproar, call for uproar.
I mean, my favorite has always just been like the old British Navy, huzzah.
Huzzah! Bangarang, because as David said, Hook. We are talking about 1991's Hook by indie art house director Steven Spielberg.
Has he done anything else?
At that time, his third movie, fourth movie?
Well, hadn't he just
at
done
this
E.T.?
Yeah.
Isn't Hook early 90s?
91.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, he's been around almost 30 years.
Yeah, 75 was... Jaws was 75. Duel was that counts as his first movie, right? Yeah, that was a...
Yeah, technically.
Yeah. I never saw it, but...
I don't know if it got like a theatrical release, but...
This is his first... I don't know. I don't want to say maybe like family film. I mean, E.T., maybe you could make the argument, but...
I mean, I would think E.T.
Technicality, it is a family film. I hated it as a kid. It was...
Really?
It was scary as hell.
Wait,
E.T. or Hook?
E.T.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I still don't like E.T. really.
Yeah.
I've still
He's
never
like
seen
laying
it.
there,
Yes.
pale and shit, laying on like the riverbed and crap, and it's like E.T. and the kid's crying, and he's just like half to death. Like, I did not like that scene whatsoever, and he looked like... I just didn't like it. No, sir.
I'm going to pick it, so Tim has to watch it one of these days.
I mean, it is a good movie.
Force watch people. I don't know. My favorite of Steven Spielberg has always just been Tiny Toons, but...
Did he just
do love
present
Tiny
that?
Toons.
Did he direct the pilot?
I don't know what he did, but as a small child, watching Tiny Toons and said brought to you from Steven Spielberg, I'm always like, ooh.
He's made a few cameos in it, too. I don't know if it was his voice, but they caricaturized him in a couple
Oh
episodes.
yeah, that's true.
Which is weird because he was big with Universal Studios, not Warner Brothers.
Wow, Duel was 71.
Oh yeah, well this will be 30 years to that movie then.
So yeah, he had done a couple things before he got to Hook.
They say the movie you make 30 years after your first movie is like your it should be your best movie of all time.
Well, it wasn't 30 years, it was 20.
Right, 2020.
I can't
71
math.
to 91, 20.
I can't math. Also, it makes me feel really old, especially because I was like, wait, this story was written in like the early 1900s, but that doesn't make sense. Like, it's like a modern day movie. And I'm like, no, it was 91. And Maggie Smith was 92 years... Well, she played a 92-year-old in this movie. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, she's like 56 or something in the movie.
Yeah, she's 56, but aged up.
At the time of filming.
Yeah, I was gonna say they must have done really great aging for her because she looked as old as I remember her in like Harry Potter, and I'm like, wow, she
Yeah.
the same.
Which
She
was
just hit,
only 10 years later. I mean, she was 66, so she wasn't really that
she
old.
hit a bar and just stayed that old.
But I agree. When I thought of her in this movie, I'm like, she's been old for one of those people that's been old for a long time. But it was just makeup, I guess.
she got the bad end of that. She didn't get like the Paul Rudd young forever. Yeah. She was just old forever.
She got the Ernest Borgnine genes. What's his name? Wilford Brimley jeans. Maggie Smith is great. Yeah, Hook. I saw this movie. I doubt I saw it in the theater. It was probably just a home VHS release or something, rental. But saw it as a kid, and you know, I think if you're a kid, especially, it's like I figured you would love this movie. Like I loved this movie.
The movie came up because I remember posting a thing on our Discord, which by all means, please come join us. But I found a decent Reddit post that it's just, what's a movie that you liked, but when you look on the internet and you realize the masses actually hate, and Hook was on that list. And I'm like, since when was Hook a bad movie?
Right.
I know Spielberg didn't like it, and he keeps saying that it was one of his worst films, but I think that's a bit harsh.
I think that is harsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, it did fine in the box office, but for what it was and the cast it had and the amount of money spent on it, it was not like a lot of Steven Spielberg's other big hits. Like when you think of how star-studded this cast is, not to mention all of the little like quick cameos of other extremely famous people, like you would have expected this movie to be like a home run, like just kill it. But it just kind of did okay. Like it did fine. A lot of people don't really remember it fondly. And I gotta say, I didn't remember how long of a movie this was.
I was surprised when I pulled it up and it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm like, holy shit.
So am I watching a Marvel movie?
That probably is a problem for some people, or some people's issue with it is that it could be, half an hour shorter.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about like little kids. Like if you go to a theater with like a 10-year-old, it's like almost 2.5 hours. They're going to be squirming after 45 minutes.
There's a 3-hour cut too.
Is there really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it didn't. No one's seen it, but apparently it was 3 hours long, and they cut it down to 2:20.
It was 40 minutes more of the argument fight back and forth between Rufio and Pan.
Just all the improv, Robin's improv.
But it's just Robin tearing into him for 40 minutes. Rufio just staring stone-faced.
Dante Brasco had to be taken to therapy afterwards.
I thought you were going to say it was an extended fight scene with Robin Williams and Caroline Goodall. Like when they're arguing over the phone in the bedroom, just like a long, angry parent fight. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, I would have cut that too.
Steven Spielberg's Marriage Story, followed by
a Peter Pan short.
There's a lot to unpack with this movie. Going back to rewatch it, I still enjoy it. There's a level of nostalgia that I have for it, but I'm not exactly clamoring to be like, there's certain movies that I'll always go back regardless and just rewatch year after year. I think I saw Hook 15 years ago, the last time I did. I saw it again recently. I think I'm set for another couple of years now.
I would cut probably 40 minutes off. And
do it,
because I remember like the whole nostalgia piece of it. I grew up with this movie. This is the Peter Pan that I know. I didn't watch I watched the Disney. Everyone's seen the Disney one. I never watched the stage play turned like home VHS version. I didn't see any other version. In fact, the most recent iteration of Peter Pan I've seen that's like recently made was the one Disney put out on Disney Plus like 4 or 5 months ago, or within the last year.
To my knowledge, there hasn't been like a big budget Peter Pan movie.
Are you kidding? There's been like 5.
Like a big budget one?
Yeah. Theatrical release, all-star cast.
I think the one
they've done at least like 3 or 4.
Like the last big budget one I can think of was Finding Neverland, but that wasn't really about Peter Pan.
No.
I think
there was
the Jason Isaacs as Hook one. That's the one I think I've seen out of all the
I'm
big
thinking
ones.
of because then there was the other one that was like the prequel where it was Hugh Jackman as Blackbeard and like I forgot who it was that plays like a young Hook. But it was like a musical and they all sing Nirvana and it's weird.
Yeah, that does sound weird. Yeah, Peter Pan 2003. That's the last like big budget one I saw. Yeah, they keep bringing it back though. Seem to want to keep making versions of it.
Yeah, then there's Neverland, Pan, Peter Pan and Wendy's the most recent one. And it looks like they have one where there's Come Away with Angelina Jolie, Wendy, which is a reinterpretation from Wendy's perspective, it looks like.
I read that Hoffman appears in the movie Finding Neverland. I don't know if he appears as Hook or just he is playing some other role and wants to be in it because he played Hook. And then I think Bob Hoskins played in another one. I think in just something called Neverland, or maybe it was Finding Neverland as Shmi. Like I don't know. I feel like they've reappeared.
He's just there with all the gold he stole.
What about Shmi?
That's me.
Shmi's me.
Oh, yeah, the Neverland TV miniseries.
Oh, TV miniseries. Okay. So he just reprised his role as Shmi.
I don't know why, but that mini series makes me think it was on the CW. I don't know why, but I just hear that and I'm like, is a CW movie? I feel like it is.
I think it was my guess is it was probably like a BBC one. Keira Knightley was Tinkerbell.
See, I don't think Bob Hoskins is CW material.
I mean, that's a perspective thing. I don't mean.
We need Bob Hoskins to bring Pedigree to CW.
Next on Riverdale.
Oi! Which one of you cunts is Archie? Speaking of people that are in this movie, headed up by, of course, the fantastic late Robin Williams as old Peter Banning. His wife played by Caroline Goodall, Moira, Julie Roberts as Tinkerbell, Dustin Hoffman as Hook, Bob Hoskins is Smee, legendary Maggie Smith as Old Wendy, Charlie Korsmo as his son Jack, who I think I only ever saw in Can't Hardly Wait. I think he's in that.
Yeah, he retired from acting. He's a lawyer now.
He's a lawyer, yeah, ironically.
Yeah. He was also in Dick Tracy.
Oh, as a kid, yeah.
Yeah, slightly younger, I think, yeah.
Amber Scott plays Maggie. I don't think she's done a whole lot.
We have ways of checking this.
Yeah, I just, there's a lot of people in this movie. I didn't feel like looking through everything.
Going down this movie is Phil Collins.
Yeah, like
just randomly.
I Phil Collins for about 45 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
You blink and you miss him.
When you see somebody like that, you immediately think like, oh, they're in this a little bit longer than I was expecting. Like, it's not a walk-on cameo. He's having lines, he's talking, and that's like, oh, nope, he's not in the rest of the film. They will never come back to the inspector.
I mean, yeah, as much as you think you think he might play a role, but then they have like throwaway cameos like with Glenn Close, like with the Boo Boo Box, which is like, oh wait, what? It's like, is this gonna be a big cameo movie? It's like, kinda.
Yep, had no idea that was even her until adulthood.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it seems obvious or a little more apparent watching it now, but
yeah,
it goes right over. You don't think twice as a kid that's Glenn
Well,
Close.
It's probably because as a child I hadn't seen Fatal Attraction yet, so I had no point of reference.
Well, it's so funny because like even watching it again, I didn't pick up, like, I obviously knew, but like I didn't pick it up right away until like she starts to emote under the makeup, and then you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's like, I know who that is.
That pirate has kind eyes.
The Boo Box, I mean, that fucked me up as a kid. That's a terrifying moment.
The Boo Box.
No, no,
The Boo Box. Yeah.
I found it weird that your parents still use it on you.
It's not far removed from the Mummy version because they just threw in more scarabs.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, like it's on par, like basically the same thing.
Yeah.
One scorpion, 1,000 scarabs, and whatever. It's gonna get you.
I mean, I hate creepy crawlies, and scorpions are up there with large spiders. So, and the fact that they can just—it's the pain. I think it's the way they look, and then the fact that it's going to hurt. It's like hell when you get stung. It's just scary.
Dude, when you
to be
whacked up
trapped.
next time, we'll throw you in a box with sharks in them, but it's going to be above ground, and it's not going to be in water. And it's going to be a great white in the size of a normal coffin.
I mean,
Dean's
that
gonna
almost
be in the
sounds
boo
like
box.
an even fight. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, Dean's going to be in the boo box circling it like Gary Busey and Silver Bullet. Come on, you son of a bitch.
Oh no, it's just
If it's a regular coffin, that sounds like me like snuggling a shark. And then getting torn up because it's thrashing and its skin is ripping me up because it's trying to breathe.
just inadvertently hurt you. It's like, no, I'm sorry, Dean. It's my way.
People actually misunderstand the nature of great white shark.
Like the scorpion and the frog parable or whatever it is.
Yeah, that old one.
I'm sorry, it's in my nature.
Oh, we've gone over the cast. Cameos. Oh, So is it true that it's
there's a lot.
George Lucas and Carrie Fisher, the kissing couple on the
It
bridge?
sounds right.
I know George Lucas is on the bridge. I don't know if Carrie Fisher was the other one. I know Carrie Fisher has a small writing credit.
Yeah, like uncredited.
Or,
Yeah.
an uncredited writing. Yeah.
And she does that a lot in a lot of movies where
Yeah,
she's
she's
a script doctor.
She's a punch-up, yeah.
Well, originally they forgot to put Pan in this. So when she started, she had to go through and just find and replace the entire thing.
Steven, bad form. Bad
Is that
form,
why-
Steven.
Is that why there's the thinly veiled last name of Peter Pan is Peter Banning?
Yeah, it was originally Peter Panning, and she's like, that's too. We gotta pull it back a little.
Wait, are there other cameo? Well, we got Phil Collins, Glenn Close, I guess George Lucas. I can't imagine George Lucas like kissing someone on film. Like he wouldn't do that, would he? I don't know why.
I mean, he put Carrie Fisher in a metal bikini.
Oh
and
yeah,
forced
I
her
guess
not
he
to
would
wear a
kiss.
bra.
He would kiss Carrie for sure. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
There's also, I called it a cameo, but she might not have been famous at the time. But the young Gwyneth Paltrow, playing the younger version of Wendy.
I guess less of a cameo, more like this is my second movie of all time.
Yeah, that's true. In my head, thinking about it now, I'm like, oh wow, cameo with Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like, oh, not really at the time.
The trivia says that apparently that's Steven Spielberg's goddaughter, which I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that either. Supposedly, David Bowie turned down Captain Hook.
That would have been a different film.
It would have been.
I don't know if I would have liked that film anymore.
I want to see it, but I can't imagine somebody doing this other than Dustin Hoffman. I thought he owned it. I really enjoyed him as Captain Hook, honestly.
He is my perfect version of Hook. I haven't seen anyone else take up the mantle and have as much of an impact that I mean, deep down, I do love this movie. It's not something I watch regularly, but when I think Peter Pan, I think, or at least when I think Captain Hook, I think of Dustin Hoffman.
Mm.
It's weird to see him and like meet the parents and think like, this is the same man that was like,
Just goes up to the other
me
father.
giving
He's
my
like,
bubbly.
Rufio. I feel like if I was Dustin Hoffman, I would just use that in everyday life. Like, you got that in your pocket. Just break it out every so often.
I think he does. Did you see that TikTok where like he was being interviewed at the red carpet and the girl's like, as a kid, I always loved you in in Hook. And he's like, close your eyes, dear, close your eyes. And he leans in and he whispers like one of his big lines from Hook. And she just completely melts because it's like your childhood idol still able to say his lines from a movie 30 years ago.
He leans over and whispers, to a 10-year-old, I'm huge.
Oh, that is bad out of context.
Bad form. Bad form.
Form, Dean. Bad form.
Oh yeah, I knew that was like. I knew everybody probably had a dirty thought when they heard that. I'm like, how can I work that in without being
I
too
didn't
obvious?
at all.
I didn't either. Although I remember when I first saw the movie as a kid, actually I think on my first few watches, I thought he said, as a 10-year-old, I'm huge. And I was like, what? He's 10?
When I was 10, you would have thought I was 15, Peter. I also read that in an interview with Playboy in 2004, Dustin Hoffman said that he and Bob Hoskins decided they were going to play Hook and Shmi as like a gay couple, like a couple of queens. Like that
And
was
it
like
worked
their
perfectly.
like basis for their roles.
And Steven's like, this is a family movie. But no, as long
It's
as
like,
you
yeah.
just play it clean.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
like
Steven's
they
like-
were affectionate like that. It's just
Keep that out of my family movie with the 3 mermaids with the shell bras making out with a man underwater and Tinkerbell's
Yeah.
all weird sex stuff going on.
I mean,
I hated that. Oh my god.
reframing the Captain Hook Smee relationship as like an actual relationship, some scenes make a lot more sense. Like there was a really intimate mustache waxing scene
Yeah.
that was like sat on his lap, facing him, twirling his mustache for him.
Well,
like, ooh, that's some new context.
Well, I was just wondering.
he used his
when,
own earwax to do that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean that breaks it a little bit, but yeah.
At one point, Captain Hook calls over the other woman. I forgot who the other one on up on the ship with him, but has her like replaces Hook with a different thing or something, and she doesn't. She does like, oh,
Yeah, she's
and undresses Hook. I was like, what?
Confound it, Drusilla gloved me. The game is about to start.
oh, she gets
The erotic unhooking.
Be a good beard and fetch my other.
My custom-made baseball glove hook that I only heard about this morning. I mean, that's the thing. Like this entire movie takes place over the bulk of the movie. Like when he goes to Neverland is 3 days, and so much happens. Like the entire fabrication of a baseball field made from spare parts of pirate ships. Like,
Or the fact that within 72 hours, Jack just decides to abandon his father and then come back to his father.
it's like also like forgets who his father is. Like I don't know about you guys, but if my dad walked up wearing tights, I'd probably still be like, "Hey, Dad."
They did
Well,
say
there's a magic to that place
Yes.
that they forget where they come from, because
Yep.
even Peter was starting to forget.
Right.
With that weird ass romance with Tinkerbell, she
Right.
tried to seduce him, and then he actually forgot he had a wife, and then a trigger word like, "Oh, wait a minute, no, I love Moira. She's
I
my
know.
wife."
I know that from like the storybook, but I didn't remember them actually like referencing that in it.
there is just the one throwaway line where somebody's like, "Neverland makes." I think Smee says like, "Neverland makes you forget" or something like that,
Oh, okay.
which I did notice and pick up on. So I was like, "Okay, there's magic."
So the denizens, so Tinkerbell remembers everything, doesn't forget. So that means she knows the history of Pan leaving, going, having a family and a wife, and then still drags him back here to just like throw one more shot at him. It's like
Yeah.
Una from Legend or whatever with the
Yeah,
trying
when
to
she
get
gets
Tom
big.
Cruise. Yeah.
Yo, humongous. Yeah, I have a note here. Like, I didn't totally like that they. Like, I know it was always implied that Tinkerbell, I think, would be like jealous of Peter and Wendy, but I didn't know that it wasn't like a romantic.
Well, probably just jealous of Wendy.
Yeah, I think that was like always kind of like a really light subplot that like
Yeah.
Wendy or that Tinkerbell was always kind of jealous and would like pick on Wendy.
Yeah. Like mix ground glass into her meals over the course of several years.
They just pretend ground
Tinkerbell
glass
stuff.
It was
Just
just
pretend. It's
pretend.
make believe.
It's just not effective when the glass she's cutting is the size of like sand.
Yeah, but to a 10-year-old, it'd be huge. I was really like the whole scene of them when they're doing the pretend meal, and then
Yeah.
finally when he's like, "I believe again," and then he sees what they're eating. I was just waiting for it to be something horrific, and he's just like, "Oh my god!" It's like
tell you people.
it's like 4 dead pirates on the table. How do you think we do
Pretend
this?
green
None
is
of us
people.
farm.
I just really love that last bit that George did in the Return of the Jedi, where he had all the Ewoks serving a banquet, and then you just see piles of stormtrooper armor with no bodies attached to them. And I really liked that idea, so I decided to put it in my new movie, Hook, the family film.
I'm just curious, like, what the kid in the kitchen was doing preparing all of those meals, and like how he managed to capture steam in all of these containers. Like, how did he produce steam, capture it, and then produce warm dishes that, when opened, also produced steam?
I want the extra 40 minutes of that director's cut to just be the kitchen scenes there, where it's just like the Neverland version of The Bear. Just like high intensity, the kid's like sweating.
There's
music's
never any
blaring.
food. It's just...
I'm like sitting there watching the scene like with a headcanon that there's like the kid in the kitchen is like a psychic version of like an imaginator, and he just imagines the things for them out of reality, and it's just like a dark Cthulhu-esque subplot of how this is all created by this one person.
But they need Pan to fight Hook.
He just makes the food, Tim.
I don't get why does Tinkerbell only give the fairy dust to Peter Pan? Why doesn't she give it to the Lost Boys? Because then you would have 10 people that are able to fly instead of just one.
I think she knows there has to be some kind of balance. They would have just gone down and killed every pirate. Like,
they have guns. What more balancing is needed?
Well, maybe that's her thought, is like, I don't need 10 jackasses flying around a pirate ship getting shot by
maybe it's
a firing line.
I mean, to be fair though, Nick, they have guns, but how many times did we see them shoot? I think only maybe twice. Maybe they just have very few bullets, but lots.
I wanted
of guns.
his final hook to be an attachment that was just an actual gun.
He's got a gun.
It's like a small cannon. He just pulls a guts.
It's
from
just
Berserk.
just another tiny snub nose. Just a small one.
He just has the hook attachment in his boot. He just reaches down, screws it in, and then fires.
See, that's the DC version of Hook. He would have a belt of hooks, and he would just like screw different hooks on. He's like Sekiro from Sekiro, I guess. Just
like
switches
the
out his
penguin
arm
from
for different weapons.
Batman Returns. He's got a different umbrella for every different thing he needs to get done.
I guess back to the food. Do you think it's because they have to eat something, right? Because Shmi is eating real turkey legs and like shit. So the people eat food there.
Is he though?
Or is that one chef kid doing double duty?
It's reverse imagining.
I mean, if they could bring if imagination can sustain you, then it would solve world hunger. People could just imagine their food, and it wouldn't be a problem anymore. If that's how, unless it's like the Matrix, they just go back to their sad homes and eat like gruel, like sloppy whatever cereal.
Yeah, it creates like a weird like disconnect between how the Lost Boys survive versus how the pirates survive. Like the pirates survive like you would imagine pirates of that time period were, but the Lost Boys are all like magic. It's just magic everywhere. And like the only like mythical creature we're introduced to is Tinkerbell. So either Tinkerbell is creating all of these things through like being around them, or I don't know, the Lost Boys have special powers.
Well, I found it weird also throughout the movie of Hook is the antagonist, but he has like a weird relationship with the Lost Boys and Tinkerbell of Tinkerbell can just show up and they'll just have a conversation, and it's like, okay, I'll give you X amount of time. You deal with the pan, but don't double cross me on this one. It's like, you guys aren't like on site. Like it's just, yeah, that's fine. Come by, have a conversation. Oh, by the way, when Rufio shows up, no, I'll kill him. We're on site.
I mean, I guess it's
fine with.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hook's fine with Julia Roberts showing up. Oh.
He just fine with mythical creatures. Hates children. Hates them so much.
And Indians. He's just racist as well. I'm surprised they didn't feature any of that in the movie, but
Tiger Lily?
They make references to it. Yeah, the Tiger Lily incident.
That sounds like a Mickey Spillane, whatchamacallit, crime novel. The Tiger Lily incident.
I want to know more about that.
The girl with the Tiger Lily tattoo.
Did you notice Robin Williams was didn't have much hair on him when they had him shirtless and like painted and like were training him. They shaved him down for this role
to keep a PG rating.
He's famously hairy.
I would love to have seen the outtakes of them shaving him.
They filmed it.
Probably.
The Lost Boys the Lost Boys shave him.
No, the Lost Boys stand in a circle like Akira, and they just like have to imagine that he's hairless. You hear the noise like the pew.
It just all drops off at once.
No, it sucks back in.
Oh, that's now a horror movie. That's
At first I thought the effects were holding up. I mean, sometimes it's the green screen, the matte.
It's really the flight.
Yeah.
Any of the flying scenes really show.
I mean, the flying scenes just look like, oh, he's on a harness. Yeah, he's on a harness.
This movie benefits from not watching it in Ultra 4K HDR.
It does. Yeah, it does.
If you watch it like 720p, I think my copy's 720p. Some of the effects were passable because it was still kind of grainy and artifacty, but
I want the 8K release.
yeah. I felt like a
was
lot of
fine.
them were fine. Like the flying was awkward. It was almost, I think, more like the choreography of the flying revealed itself.
Yeah.
as being like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's on a harness because of how he's like moving around. And it's just like, oh yeah, no, I don't think if someone could fly, they'd move around like that.
Yeah, I think Captain Hook goads him into coming back and fighting. He kind of like dips forward, like almost on his face, like as he leaves the ground, and it's like,
It's like, oh yeah,
gotta
you're
reorient
changing
here.
your center of balance there, and like doing like the backflips, and I'm like, yep, that's what you can do on a harness.
We'll get to the... Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Spielberg said that because this is one of his least favorite movies, and it was because he ran late and went over budget. I have a feeling he probably shot the film. This is my pure guess. I really don't know. If he shot the film chronologically, and if that's the case, then he probably was just short for time and didn't have the extra money to make it look better. I'm trying to think of Christopher Reeve's Superman's flight stuff, or at least in the first movie anyway, and how it would compare. But it really did look like he was just strung up on two cables the entire time through Pan or Hook.
Yeah. I think there's one shot where I thought it looked cool, which was like the long shot where he's flying up at a 45-degree angle, then like compresses and curls in the ball, and then like changes angles and goes straight down.
Oh yeah,
That's a cool shot. I think that it looked.
They did that for real. They shot him
well.
through a cannon. And then just gravity. That was gravity assist.
He defied
he had the
physics.
he had
He's
the
the
core
one that
strength.
told-
Just
He told Tim Allen, like, how did you do the whole flying thing in Hook? And just, it was just falling with style. And that's how the thing came about in Toy Story.
Boo.
So,
Boo this man. The sets. I thought the sets looked a little too setty to me. That'd be one criticism. I feel like it just looked constructed in a soundstage to me.
yeah, and it really did feel that way.
yeah, at times I think I was looking at it and almost looked like what you would buy from Toys R Us as the playset of Hook.
It opens
It
up.
looked very
yeah.
looked very like put together. Like
Did they have one?
I feel like they should have.
It was
I know
very
they had
like
toys.
the pirate scene one, baseball pirate scene, and then wherever the Lost Boys are, and it's like kind of a 3-location thing. But also, I mean, you can't expect much. It is a small independent film by Steven Spielberg, starring the cast of
we'll say,
A-list
like,
Academy Award winners.
Despite them looking like sets and like very put together, I still thought they were kind of cool.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like the pirate
I
ship
definitely-
looks super cool.
yeah.
I wanted to go there as a kid for sure. I wanted to I wanted to kiss mermaids like for sure as a kid.
It looked like a fun place to like play around. Like it kind of felt like a playground with like the multiple levels and like all the stuff going on.
Yeah.
The mermaid toys that McDonald's released for the movie.
There were
They
mermaid
made toys.
That's what they
Yeah.
chose to make a toy of.
They did Rufio. They're tub toys, so they're meant to go in the water. They made
I'm
one
sure.
of Rufio, Pan and Hook, and a mermaid. And the mermaid looks just, her body looks like it's been tie-dyed in blue or in green and purple.
So
but Dean's
they
more
really cheaped
interested.
out.
Did they make the lips kissable?
I don't know. I think it's your type, Tim.
I definitely felt funny in the pants when that scene came on. Like he's randomly
became a
he's
man.
got a wife. He's kissed 1, 2, 3. He's kissed 4 other women in this movie.
I didn't take a lot of notes for Hook, but my one note is everyone wants a piece of Peter in this movie.
I mean, he is like the most important person on that entire island world.
I mean, it really feels like
Even-
Peter Pan in this movie feels like when you see a director who also is the writer, who also stars, and it just happens like all these women just love him in this movie. Oh, I wonder why.
I feel like the prequel to this movie is just like Peter Pan and the Neverland harem.
The Neverland Ranch?
Oh god. Even Granny Wendy seemed like she wanted a piece in that scene they had at the beginning
yeah.
of the movie. Like it's like they're very
Okay,
close.
So
And I feel he even's like Granny. Like he actually has to pump the brakes here.
Yeah, he switches what he calls her. Yeah.
Well, the thing that's so weird is the fact that it's like, okay, so Peter Pan, Wendy goes there. They know each other as kids. They have adventures together, all this fun stuff. Then he goes into the real world. Wendy ages out for him. So he instead ends up marrying Wendy's, what was it, like daughter?
Granddaughter.
Granddaughter. Can you imagine hanging out with somebody and then being like, oh yeah, you're too old for me, but how's your granddaughter these days?
I mean,
I was also like the brief, like the last time Peter shows up to take Wendy and like the recoil when she's like, Peter, I'm old. And you see Peter Pan's arm be like, oh,
fuck.
like, oh God.
I almost touched it.
It's a septuagenarian. That I mean that
There
whole
go my
flash.
happy thoughts, and he falls to the ground.
That's why he couldn't go back. He had none
dies.
left.
that part of the flashback sequence where he gets the whole history. He remembers his whole history of how he became Peter Pan, which I think is taken from one of the iterations from a long time ago, but which included him running away as an infant somehow, gaining telekinetic control over his carriage.
Okay, I thought
I didn't want to grow up and die, so I ran away. And by ran away, I mean the wind pushed my carriage down a hill and no one came to get me.
Yeah, I thought I misunderstood that part until I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he means like as a baby he feared his own mortality and just willed himself to Neverland.
The camera pans for him laying on the concrete, and just like you see his mother walking away in the background. Like, well,
It's like, well, it's on the ground now. Now it's garbage.
he was going to be a scholar and a judge, but I guess that's over.
2 seconds earlier, I could have kissed
Have
him up to
fun.
God, but nope.
But they get to the part, where he's like, he comes back to visit Wendy every spring, and she gets older, and then she's old and has a granddaughter, and it's just weird that he's like, oh, yeah, that's your granddaughter? I'm going to kiss her now on the lips. You just stand there. Let me do it.
Hold on. Wait, no, so
With a thimble,
so now
Peter? No.
Now that I'm really thinking about it,
Stand back.
he comes back every 10 years, she said, right?
No, it was every spring.
Oh yeah.
So it's
There's-
almost-
there's a deep dive I want to do on this part.
Was it 10 years?
So-
I thought it was every spring. but
Yeah,
I could be
it's
wrong.
like the Davy Jones thing. He comes back to land every 10 years. So, a granddaughter. So that means she had enough time to get married, have a kid. That kid to grow old, get married, and also have a kid. Did she just kind of forget to mention any of this to Peter? Like, I have a husband now. I have a child now. I have that child is now have a child. Like, wait, what?
Meanwhile, Peter Pan is like Matthew McConaughey.
What were her motivations at
God.
age like 55? Like, you're still going to Neverland with this kid? What are you doing?
They had her and her husband had a rocky time. That's why there is no Mr. Wendy, Moira,
Peter's-
Angela,
Peter's
Lansbury, darling.
Peter's technically 100 years old, so this is okay.
I mean, actually, realistically, that does make it seem like Peter Pan is like Matthew McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused. That he's just coming back to just like troll
reverse,
through.
though.
Yeah. But then also it's like it would be the example would be if in Matthew McConaughey and Dazed and Confused decided to go back, find Jason London, remove him as leader of that crew, and then convince him to die in a gang fight, and then everybody leaves with him. Like, he not only arrives, takes over from Rufio, but then gets Rufio killed and is just like, okay, have a good day, bye.
He officially takes over, and I think Rufio dies on the same day. Like, that was a really bad day.
What?
for
It was
Rufio.
over 3 days. There's only so much time
Yeah.
it could have happened. And we know the first day was just him like getting there and learning how to eat.
That man didn't eat for 2 days straight.
I also like want to know like who did Wendy have this kid with? Like was her husband Toodles? Like is that why he was there? Like how does a lost boy
Toodles.
just leave Neverland and lives with Wendy? And we never like hear what his relationship is.
I like to think it's Hook.
We know he's
I
a
like
lost
Toodles
boy.
better.
We know he's a lost boy, but that's all we know. It's like, why, Toodles? Why'd you come back?
There was a secret war between him and Peter Pan that whole time because they both wanted to get into Wendy's pants.
Maybe that's what it is.
But Toodles was the
decided
smart
stay.
one to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think Toodles lost his marbles. I think somebody took them.
Yeah.
Like he came back for a visit, and then Peter just took his marbles back to Neverland and was just
Pan's
like,
like,
was
guess
an
his
inside
mind is
job.
just going. That'll happen to you. Deuces.
But I need you to hold on to these. Don't mention it to anybody.
and then Peter goes off to Neverland, and he just forgets all about Toodles, and then 50 years later, goes to visit Wendy.
That's how it happens.
But one thing I did want to discuss is a little bit of like how Peter doesn't remember his life right before being adopted. Like after when Wendy finds him a family. Like in the beginning of the movie, he talks about like he has that conversation with Wendy where Wendy asks like, "Do you remember anything about your childhood?" He's like, "I don't remember anything before getting adopted." Now. And then we see as he remembers, like we have that big cave sequence where he remembers what's going on, and he's like has his epiphany, and he like has softened as a person.
You mean apostrophe?
He like softens as a person, but what my mind kept saying is he has been child Peter Pan longer than he has been adult Peter Banning. So he just woke up from like 140 years of amnesia. Like I am concerned that he is no longer that person, like that Peter Banning. He is the child Peter Pan, which is his dominant personality.
I'm starting to think that Neverland is
split
actually
situation.
a cursed. It's more of a cursed location than anything else because the memory loss that this place incurs is pretty crazy. Because the longer you're away from it, the more you forget from Neverland, and the longer you stay in it, the more you forget about everything outside it. So I don't know if I would ever want to go there.
I like to imagine it's Limbo. The Lost Boys are all unbaptized children, and Hook is the judge of the dead.
If you are ever interested in like looking into a story that kind of plays that up, like looks at the dark things of Neverland and plays it up really well, I would recommend the novel Child Thief by Brahm. It is incredible and casts Peter Pan and everything he does in a very kidnappy, dark light. Very cool read.
I know in Once Upon a Time they made him the bad guy,
Oh,
and Hook became the sexy good guy.
Yeah, it was a hard
Because you
time.
gotta have a sexy good
wait,
guy.
sexy good guy? Was this on the CW?
Is that Bob Hoskins' role?
Oi!
The exact one.
Excuse me, should we hire somebody other than... Nope. Let him cook.
He's already going. He's got it.
Thought about this ever since I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Tunes.
There's lots of...
So,
Oh, go ahead.
Some people are looking at Jessica Rabbit. No, everyone's looking at Bob Hoskins.
so the thing that I was kind of concerned about is the fact that, okay, like you said, David, he's now fully in control of the Peter body, the Peter host. It's Pan is back. So when they go back, and all of a sudden it goes from like he's a high-powered attorney and he's doing all these deals, and then it's, no, I'm going to make a joke and throw my phone out the window, and we should just all have fun. How quickly before that family crumbles financially? Because as it is, like, I don't think that they have a ton of money coming in other than like, yeah, they're banking on his job. He's a high-powered attorney. He's the one who makes all the money.
I think that family's going to crumble because it's now being led by an adventurous child who like in the, like, when you think about the timeline of his life, it's like you have adventure child who like took a business class.
One business
Like that
class.
is how small of a fraction of his life was that.
Or what's the relationship with his wife going to be now that it's like, cool, you are now essentially in the relationship from Big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but he comes back and boy, he has the hots for her now. Before he was kind of ambivalent, but he comes back and he's all about her.
Hey, the Lost Boys told me about sex in Neverland.
Oh my God. I'm supposed to give you this, and it's just another thimble.
It brings
A
back
thimble
like
of my love.
He's got a 60s Playboy in his hand. Like,
He's gonna have a lot to work through. Like,
He has a
all these
Playboy in his
memories
hand,
again.
and he's like, Dustin Hoffman did this interview in here talking about,
I was gonna say it's like the Neverland version of Playboy, like just it's like pirates on it or something.
just hot mermaids.
Bob Hoskins centerfold.
Stick figures in mud. But with big boobs.
Yeah, the mermaids.
Are we going to talk about how at one point Thudbutt establishes that he has mutant powers? That he grabs his own ankles, grabs his own ankles,
hedgehog
turns
powers.
it. Yeah, he just like Sonic the Hedgehog's is like powerballs his way down into some pirates and looks completely inhuman. Why did they not utilize him earlier in any
Pack him
other
into a cannon.
altercation?
It is.
Yeah.
It
With
is a
great
very
power comes
starkly
great responsibility.
Yeah, it's like a stark difference. Like you see him pull the legs up. Somehow he's still, 4 feet in the air with his legs up his head. And then it cuts, and it's like, yeah, it's a prop Thudbutt, just like a perfect ball. Like he doesn't have joints anymore.
These kids have magic powers. They gotta.
You think he has powers, and it actually shattered both his kneecaps. Help me, Peter! I can only do this once.
He was off pure adrenaline after that for 5 minutes, and then he just like falls into the water and drowns.
I can only do
Rufio
this once.
just gets him with like a hypo needle. He just like comes back.
He's like, I can only do this once, and he misses, doesn't hit anybody. No.
Oh. The ace in the hole that every Lost Boy has. Just like amorphosize their body.
Thudbutt, all the Lost Boys. Rufio has maybe the strongest personality.
The only personality. He's
I-
got the most
yeah.
lines.
Him and Thudbutt.
I mean, all of them have like benevolent child energy, and then
Yes.
Rufio is the only one that's like has seen some stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so I am ignorant on real Peter Pan history and all that. Is Rufio a character created for Hook, or was he always there?
I think he's
Because
for
I've
Hook.
never seen.
Yeah, he's
'cause
for
I've
Hook.
never
He's-
seen him elsewhere.
Yeah, he's not in the original novel.
They
I
just-
love Rufio, but he is an asshole through this whole movie.
Wait, the
what
whole movie?
benefit does? Well, yeah. I mean, what benefit does he give the Lost Boys besides being like a pretty rude dude, thing, or being a paramecium? You know, like what
I
else
guess
does
we
he do?
don't know. I mean, they don't really go into it. We just assume he was leading them, and there's
Yeah,
a weird.
they all seem to
think
like
he's a
him.
weird guy. They all think. I'm sorry. They all think Rob and Williams. Peter is a weird dude, and he's just like leading the charge on.
Well, I
him.
mean, he is. He was kind of a square.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. I mean, if I was Rufio, I probably would have acted the same way.
some
to-
fat
yeah.
lawyer.
To Pan coming back.
Yeah,
It's like some weird adult comes back. I mean, I also want to know, like, the grounds in which Peter just abandoned them the first time. It's just like, I'm gonna go get Wendy and John and all of our friends from London, and then he just never comes back. And then Hook comes in and burns Peter Pan's home, and it's like, man, somebody's got to step up.
Yeah, I think Rufio gets shafted the entire movie because he takes over, he's the leader, seems to be doing well. Peter comes back. It's like this chosen one that, Rufio, not only do you have to give up your role, it's not like, oh, you have to help him. It's, no, help him so he can take over what you're doing. It's like,
Yeah,
you
what
have
you've
to
been for the
train
last
your
30
replacement.
years.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
how they
then,
perceive
we-
time there, but
You guys become friends? That's great. He's the leader now, and you will die in 12 minutes. Not only will you die in 12 minutes, they will look at you, you will say something sad, die, and then Pan will decide, you know, I'm not even going to fight him. I'm just going to grab my kids and leave. And the only reason
That
he
did
comes
piss
back
me
to
off.
fight him,
Yep.
yeah, the only reason he
That's-
comes back to fight him is because he gets goaded.
It's like, no, Hook is mine, or like leave the old man to me, he's mine. And then it's like, oh, my kids, and then he just fucks off.
He just
that-
drops Rufio, you hear his head hit the bottom of the boat.
that I can understand. But like the fact that I would say I still got choked up when he at his death, but it's just, and then I wrote immediately after, like, why is nobody mourning Rufio?
Yeah, they're like cheering immediately after.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you killed Rufio. And that's the only mention of it later is like, you killed Rufio, you kidnapped my kids, you deserve to die.
But
It's like, yeah, Rufio.
so-
There was like no memorial. They didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have an end scene with like them burning him on a pyre and with the
I don't know if
sword.
the kids
or-
know how to deal with death, because I don't think anybody dies on that island.
Yeah, he's literally the only Lost Boy to die in that whole endeavor.
That is true. He's like the token Ewok.
Yeah, I didn't like how that was treated. Like, it sucks that
Hook looks
there was
surprised.
no-
Like, honestly, I didn't know you guys can do that.
He's like, I thought I could just kill pirates.
He does. I did make note of he in that scene where where Hook is lamenting and goes on to like fake suicide, fake that he's going to shoot himself. He's like saying
You're not
how
telling
like
me to.
all I do is kill pirates and kill. Essentially, saying this, kill Lost Boys. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. So it does hint that he's killed Lost Boys.
Also, if Smee and Hook are in a relationship, it's toxic if he just like constantly pushes that, like, I'm gonna do self-harm, guys. I'm gonna do it. No, don't.
It's like, don't
Hook
stop
is-
me. Don't.
Hook is
stop
not
me.
a good
Stop
partner.
me. Stop.
Stop me. Get up off your
I
ass,
like
me.
how it calls him a sadist. Like, what are you trying to do? Get me killed?
Yeah. I did like that whole scene. I thought was pretty entertaining.
No stopping me this time, Smee. This is it. Don't make a move, Smee. Not a step. My finger's on the trigger. Don't try to stop me, Smee. Oh, not again. This is it. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't you dare try to stop me this time, Smee. Try to stop me. Smee, you better get up off your ass. Get over here, Smee. I'm coming. Smee! This is not a joke. I'm committing suicide. Don't ever frighten me like that again.
I'm sorry.
Well, are you some kind of a sadist?
I'm sorry. How's you feel now?
I want to die.
Oh, no.
There are a lot of. I mean, you know, there's lines in here that took me by surprise and made me laugh. I think my low key like favorite little moment in the movie is when he first gets there to Neverland. She's just told him how to be a pirate, how to walk and like scowl.
Now crack your mouth and drool. Now growl. Growl.
Are you? Not bad, you. Not bad. All right.
Not bad. How are you? All right.
It's like you just need to know the password to engage in conversation. It's like, because once you get the yar through, it's like, oh, now you just talk like a regular person, I guess.
Yeah. How are you? Not bad. How
Looks
are
like
you?
rain tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, that part I wasn't expecting that. That took me by surprise.
I do appreciate too the way that Spielberg, the way that he auditions and picks the kids to act in his movies. because the whole time watching this, I know the male kid, what's his name?
Charlie Korsmo, Jack.
He doesn't really do much with his acting career, and the girl just straight up quits after this. But the whole the girl less than Jack, but I did believe they were like it was 100% natural of a performance.
Yeah. A
lot of kids
Jack did good.
you see in like movies, their acting is so forced. You have to have like a suspension of disbelief. But with them, I just fully believed it.
Yeah, I thought Jack did great. Just selling the cat's in the cradle, dad's not there kind of anguish, I guess, that Hook like draws out of him.
Yeah, the daughter, Maggie, doesn't really in hindsight isn't really in the movie that much. Like, doesn't have a ton of scenes. I mean, there's definitely more focus on Jack.
Yeah,
she has a scene where she's singing,
right,
and like in Neverland, and I don't remember that at all. Either that, or I've always hated it as a kid, and I just never retained. I just remembered everything else about the movie.
The token song that's not very good.
Yeah,
there's I don't know if you noticed, but this stuck out to me when they are in the clock museum. And they are showing him like how they, Smee's going around with a hammer beating shit. Oh no, that's right. He grabs the clock that works and makes it start ticking, so Hook's going nuts. There's a shot, they cut to Jack, and it's like, oh, he's just like has this natural reaction. He's like laughing. He's like, oh my God.
Don't tick in here. There's nothing left to tick.
Oh my God.
I think it was a real moment, like a real like unscripted like reaction he had to something that was going on off screen that Bob Hoskins or somebody was doing. But
that's true. It does seem
like
it's like a real reaction where like someone would react to something that's like wacky.
Yeah,
that
he wasn't
happening.
expecting the level of whatever was going on, and he was like just laughing.
Yeah, I wonder if
like those moments.
I wonder if like Dustin Hoffman like really pushed the performance more than they expected, and so he was just like, "Oh man, you're really going at it."
Yeah, it just felt very real. And it's like, yeah, we're using that take. I have to say, if I ever go into battle, I 100% hope the way I put on armor is just like jumping through a bamboo curtain and like it just comes out perfectly on my body, because that's definitely the coolest way to
Tony Stark level of armor putting on.
It's so cool.
For like, if Tony Stark lived in a jungle and did this with sticks and stones, this is how I would imagine him putting on his like the bamboo armor, man.
Fun fact, there is actually an Iron Man arc where he is lost in a jungle when his armor goes rogue on him and he has to like predator it, where he like makes traps and things out of sticks and rocks and has to fight his sentient armor. It's pretty neat.
Could have used you with the fight, Tony, with Captain Hook.
It's like, you did it, Tony.
That man definitely flies.
Going back to the child actors though, like, as much as like we hate Rufio, I think Donnie Brasco did a great job with the character.
Oh yeah,
like,
no, I mean,
he's an incredibly believable like jerk teenager.
Yeah.
For I know I'm gonna get crucified. Who this guy hates Rufio? I don't hate Rufio. Like I mean, he was one of the most idolized.
Bangarang!
Yeah, he's one of the most idolized characters from my childhood. That just watching this as an adult and just seeing the context of the rest of it, it seemed like, he was a bit standoffish and kind of arrogant compared to all the rest of the other guys. But it does make sense that, this old man comes in claiming to be Peter Pan. It's like, you're trying to take my job away from me? Who the fuck are you?
I mean, also the fact that like Tinkerbell never even gave him fairy dust to fly. Like, he had everything else going on. He was basically Pan.
That just really shows you how like much he was like, Peter's gonna come back. Like, I love Peter. I'm saving it for Peter.
She was Pan blocking him.
Tinkerbell only gives him the fairy dust because it's Peter.
Maybe Hook had a tip on where to get those kids.
Try and bring him back.
We can get Peter back.
I like that subplot.
I mean, it's a good point. How does Hook even get there? Like, would it needed fairy dust?
Second star to the left.
I like how
I
like how he went through the front door
McDonald's.
too. The whole time they alluded that they were kidnapped through the window, but he clearly came in through the front door.
No, he left through the front door.
Oh, did he?
It's like he came in the front the window and he was like, I gotta leave a mark though somehow. Like, how am I gonna do this? They'll never
Puts
find
on
it
his
if I leave it
grappling
on the
hook-
balcony.
hook,
Or he just
aims
blew
it up at his flying space pirate ship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's like, I know how houses work. They'll come through this door, so I got to go down there. And
He just murders Toodles or whatever his name is.
yeah, where was
him
Toodles?
hanging
He
up
didn't
in-
go to the party, did he?
No, he stayed home.
yeah. He was there. He saw it happen.
Yeah, it's just like Silence of the Lambs. He's just hanging when they arrive.
The knife is through Toodles, and that's where the note is. That would've
Shouldn't
been
have forgotten
fucked
your
up.
marbles.
There's a funny moment to me. It's funny in my head imagining it, but Rufio has like a roller coaster windsurfing apparatus that's just there for
Hell
fun, I
yeah.
guess, because they're kids. They gotta have fun.
There was a lot of cool stuff like that.
But like late when Peter becomes Pan again, they're all celebrating, and there's like a big, pullback shot, and somebody rides that thing like through the frame. And in my head, I'm like, that kid was just like, oh yeah, everybody's distracted by Peter. I can finally play with this.
I'm glad you thought of it
Rufio's
that
gonna let me
way.
ride this thing.
I'm glad you thought of it that way. Not like, yeah, Rufio's dead. Now I can take his glider thing.
He was still alive at the time.
Oh,
This is when he gave him his sword.
I'm
and they're all
not
like,
dead
yeah.
yet. You will be. I
I
like
just
how the Lost
laughed.
Boys had like their entire hideout and all of their area of them like skateboarding up the ramps and doing all that had the energy of like the Neverland Foot Clan.
Yeah.
oh, totally.
Yeah. I see
Rufio
that.
comes out and he's like, menthols are regular.
Also, the fact that the whole Lost Boy hideout is what, like a mile and a half from Pirate Land. Like, you can walk there in an hour.
Hook is literally on his ship and he can hear them partying and he's just like, these clowns.
That's why he hates them so much. Those darn kids and their parties, all their imaginary dinners.
Well, you're the one on a house that moves. Just take your ship like down to the next pair.
Maybe I'm uncultured on cigar smoking, but did you notice Hook has a double cigar holder? Like it's two lit cigars going into like a holder and like going into one. Like he's smoking two at the same time.
I did not notice that.
There's just a scene where he's holding it and turns. It's like I don't know. It's not really doted upon, but
I mean, if that's his daily routine, I don't think they need to defeat Hook. They just need to wait.
Shmee, what did the doctor say? Shmee, tell me, Shmee. I'm ready for the news, Shmee.
He's holding his pistol to his own head. Tell me, Shmee.
Shmee. Oh, there's another that I don't know if it's as nefarious as it sounds, but they find him in the beginning. When Robin Williams comes back, he's very clumsy. He's not Peter Pan. He's just a regular dude. And they've got him. They find his scar, and they're like, it is him. And Bob Hoskins is like,
Fairy footprints, Captain. He's Peter Pan, or I've got a dead man's dinghy.
What?
that's his line. Either he's Peter Pan or I've got a dead man's dinghy. Spelled like a dinghy, like a
Yeah,
little
like a
boat.
boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what does he mean by that? Like, what is
I
that?
have no idea.
He just owns a dinghy, and he's like, oh, man, it's not a dead person's, but if it was,
'Cause I've called a penis a dinghy before, so I don't. I know that's.
I mean,
I had
considering
to
that
I
one
had to
of
turn the subtitles on. It's like, okay, it's spelled dinghy like the boat.
considering that one of Pan's insults was a nearsighted gynecologist, a lot of things slipped past me as a kid, so I wouldn't be surprised if Dead Man's Dinghy was something else.
I do like that he, like, when he first starts like getting going in the like name calling fight, like at first he's like really bad at it, but once he starts going, like his first like 8 are not good at all, but like the kids are like,
No.
yeah, you're getting it,
You
you're
math
getting
tutor.
it. Yeah, you math tutor, like you first grade it's something.
Substitute chemistry teacher?
Come on, Rufio, hit him back.
Mong Tongue,
Math tutor?
Pinhead.
Prison barber.
Mother lover.
Nearsighted gynecologist.
In your face, camel cake.
In your rear, cow derriere.
Lion, crying, spine, prine, ultra pig.
You lewd, crude, rude, bag of pre-chewed food dude.
Peter!
And I was like, kids, you don't know what any of this means. Like, I get that his rhythm is better, but none of these mean anything.
He's
unless that's
rhyming,
all it's
okay,
about.
but I don't know
as
what
long
he's
as it's a
saying.
rhyme and it's fast, they're like, yeah, I get it.
You math tutor, and then Rufio hits him, and they're all like, that's a slur in Neverland. I'm sorry, I've been gone.
You can't say that here.
Rufio's not the
None
only
of us
one
know
with that.
math.
Rufio's not the only one with that hair color and hairstyle. He's a race of people that are bad at math.
Rufio's not my name. We are all Rufio.
It's a collective hive mind called Rufio. Bangarang is their language.
It activates the hive mind.
He's home, he says it. He's like bangarang and just like bangarang.
His eyes go white. Like you hear like little chittering in the back of his head.
I love Robin's line at the imaginary feast. He's like, Gandhi ate more than this.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wasted on the children of Neverland unless they're like well read.
It's all for the audience.
It's true. Like he like has no idea where he is. Like if I'm surrounded by, or even like you go to a kid's birthday party, right? You're not breaking out Gandhi jokes to the 4-year-olds. Like
He's entertaining
also, dude,
himself.
know where you are.
Just the fact that he threatens like 4 people that he's an attorney, it's like, I really don't think this is a due process land. Like I don't think there's a lot of cases going on.
Yeah, like when he first arrives at Neverland and he's on the ship, like confronting Captain Hook, and his daughter's like, "Yeah, blow him out of the water, Dad." And he's like, "All right," and he takes out his checkbook. It's like, man, this is not that kind of place.
Takes out his checkbook, and inside his checkbook, it's like cut out, so it's hollow, and he takes out a gun.
I'm here to write checks and
that your body can't cash.
I also like to point out, I think there was about 500 pirates and maybe 30 Lost Boys, and they somehow just took them down.
Well, I mean, again, guns, but I guess kids' movie prevails or something.
I did
They've
like
only
that.
got 6 bullets, Nick, and they share them. They have to recover them each time.
Well, the only thing is they have the bullets in the guns, but no gunpowder. So they just have to put it down the barrel and then sling it really fast.
I did like
All the guns have like openings on the other side, and they just blow through them.
Why do these blow darts have handles like this? I did like that chicken gun with the eggs. The fact that they added the shell ejection, I thought was pretty funny, actually. Like the eggs getting launched, like their shells are like being ejected out the side, like casings.
Yeah.
But
I feel
how...
like it's way less effective though. Like just chuck whole eggs at them. Like,
Or,
Well,
you
get
know,
the egg in
just
their eyes,
fill it
and-
with rocks.
Yeah.
You literally, I mean, I guess they have imaginary food anyway, so it's not like they can waste 3,000 eggs and just be like, eh.
It's the power of whimsy. They've got to have a whimsical kind of ammunition.
Power of whimsy.
I imagine these eggs are ball bearings.
they go back and forth because they're like, we're gonna shoot eggs at them and put marbles on the ground, but then also they have swords. Like the kids have swords.
Maybe it's an unspoken truce that if the kids start using rocks, then that means the pirates can start using bullets.
It's a Cold War arms standoff.
It's like it's almost like modern day nukes. It's like we both know we have access to more powerful weapons, but we'll choose not to because once we start, there's no one's gonna be left.
It's just like each battle is a game of Age of Empires, and it's like, well, if he goes to the Bronze Age, we go to the Bronze Age.
I think it's probably just like at the end of the day, they're like, all right, we surrendered, we lost, but yeah, we'll do this same time next week. Like, yep, see you kids next
good battle,
week.
guys. Good battle.
They should just weaponize their imaginations and just decide, like, Hook, we don't believe Smee exists anymore.
Crazy.
The Lost Boy psychic hive mind.
Tickles is in the cornfield.
Psychological horror of James Hook. The baseball game.
I like how the guy stole second and he got shot for it.
Yeah, that was a good Indiana Jones kind of moment.
Yeah, and Jack is just like, a man died in my baseball game, but okay, here we go.
Won't be my first, won't be my last. Play ball.
That man was just murdered right in front of me for doing a thing that I might do this game.
He can see Thestrals now. Oh, wrong fandom.
At first, I thought Peter, he sees how I forget. I guess he sees how happy Jack is or whatever there, and it just seems like he gives up and goes home. Like he takes his hat off and gives it to Thudbutt, who like slams it. It seems like a very big moment. I'm like, did you just give up? Like,
it did feel like a give up, yeah.
But then he went home and just like, no, I got to learn how to fly. I have to get better. It was like, okay, that makes sense. But it was just like a weird
Bust his
kind of
ass
moment.
and then just stares at the camera. Gotta fly. It's one of the worst lines. That's the only line I hated through the whole movie.
I hated the entire like insult argument fight. Even as a kid, I was
you were
like,
gonna say
this
the
is so
whole
stupid.
2 hours of this 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
Oh no, it's fun.
He only loved the angry parent fight. Tim's favorite part was the marital troubles.
Everybody just shut up.
Yes, tell him how
You've
much
got to
he's
pay
never
attention
home.
to your kids. I live off this.
Like an energy vampire. My eyes glow and I just have my mouth open watching it. Keep it coming, Steven. Like
the insult fight. I didn't hate it. Why do you hate it? Because it's like little kid speak.
It's kid humor, and even as a kid, I didn't have kid humor. It's like, you maggot burger, you fly toad.
Tim,
It's
Tim was an adult as of like 3 years old.
I was working on a Type 5 when I was 6.
Yeah, he had a 6-year plan before he was even 6.
I need the alternate version where that scene was written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. I hear the insults they came up with.
That scene felt very like 80s kids movie.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of the movie with kids who play baseball, and there's the giant dog that lives next door. They lose the baseball.
That was
Sandlot.
in the 80s though.
Sandlot. Thank you.
That was
It
around
felt-
the same time as this.
Oh, was it really? I thought Sandlot was wild.
It was right after
No.
this at some time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with Hook, it came out 91. It was in pre-production through the 80s,
Started in '89. Yeah.
but who knows how much of it kept.
I thought it was a lot earlier, but yeah, it felt very like Sandlot to me with that kind of back and forth.
You're a rude dude, crude, lewd bag of food, dude. Whatever he says. Bangarang. I do
It is
think
funny,
it's
like-
like. Oh, go ahead. No, you're in that scene. So
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, kind of going off that, like, watching this again, I kept having like thoughts of, wow, this story, although it is a Peter Pan story, feels very done. And I know it's an older movie, but like, this is also kind of like a Scrooge movie, like like a Christmas Carol. Like it's a very that kind of formula, or like Scrooged, or like, I don't know, you got rich business guy learns the power of friendship and being, a child.
This is fantasy Jingle All the Way.
I mean, yeah, like
yeah.
it's
Learning to reclaim the love of his
Peter,
son.
If it wasn't Peter Pan, this would be kind of a tired story.
That's why they had to really kill Rufio at the end, just to set them apart from any other child fare from the time.
It's basically just Christmas Carol, but they Scrooge comes and just breaks Tiny Tim over his leg.
What would have set it apart, and what I felt like the shot where Peter starts after the insult fight, Rufio throws a coconut at him, he grabs a sword and cuts it, and then there's just this moment where everybody's just slack-jawed staring at him like, I think it's supposed to convey like, oh
He's
wow,
got a sword.
He's becoming Peter. But the way they're staring, like open-jawed, and like he looks horrified. I imagine to cut, and it's like he's like decapitated one of the boys by accident. And they're all just staring. Oh my god. That's what that moment felt like to be.
It's the Robot Chicken sketch of the Star Wars Episode 3, where Anakin is cutting quote unquote sunflowers for Padme, and really it's the younglings. It's like, I brought you sunflowers home, honey. What? Ah!
What if all the Lost Boys were surprised because they're like, we've been training him wrong on purpose. He learned how to use a sword.
Oh shit!
Who
We
sharpened
exiled
the
Peter
sword?
Pan.
We didn't sharpen this thing. I thought it was
Tinkerbell.
blunt.
Yeah.
This
Peter
isn't
Pan
how you
didn't
said it
leave.
would
They
go.
kicked him out.
Pan starts to remember this
He's like,
terrible
that's right. I was on a
backstory.
murder rampage. They cast the spell of banishing upon me.
That's the other 40 minutes. It's him getting tied down like Gulliver's Travels as they just like surround him in a salt circle and blaze him back off to London.
Peter Pan's actually like a demon that plagued Neverland for years.
What if it's not the kids forget, it's proximity to Peter?
The memories tied to his proximity.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting that like the Lost Boys remember Peter Pan and all of their adventures with him.
Well, because they remember everything that's happened in Neverland.
Oh, that happened in Neverland?
It's like a
Yeah.
Severance situation. They have Neverland brains and then they have real world brains.
Yeah, the longer you're away from one, you forget that one easier.
Yep, that's how I took it. I like how Toodles sees the day to Robin Williams as he flies away. Was that
Or the same
intentional,
way-
I guess? Or had to be intentional.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Yeah, they're the same way that Bob Hoskins like, "Good morning, Neverland."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't pick up on
Oh,
that.
right.
Like, how many, like, Easter eggs can we put referencing ourselves?
Did he say that over an intercom? I'm trying to remember
Yeah,
what.
he had
got
he had like the
megaphone.
loudspeaker megaphone thing.
Shmi in this movie is on the same level as like Dr. Robotnik in terms of like, it's kind of
Yeah.
fun to do his little accent.
I don't know. It's when he comes back to the real world. Like, even Hook says to him, like, this is a dream. You're going to wake up and yada, yada, yada. But it's so clearly not a dream. But also, they're still doing things when he gets back. It's like, oh, there's Shmi. He's the janitor here in the real world. Like, why? I don't know why they have to try to make it confusing, even though they're clearly saying that it's not a dream at the same time. I don't know why.
forgot about that. They tried to pull like the 90s fantasy movie of like, you return, but like, oh, I had this rock that I had.
Yeah.
It wasn't a dream.
And you were there, and you were there, but unless it was they were trying to put their agents in place as like revenge for Hook, Peter's gonna wake up with like a knife to his throat. Neverland sends his regards.
That's how they got the kids. Shmi's been working as a janitor at his company for years.
The IMDb credits, I didn't know, and I had when I read it before the scene happened in the movie, so when I read it, I was able to like confirm it. But when he wakes up after the whole thing, he's right in front of a Peter Pan statue, which I thought was a little on the nose.
Yeah, I
never
that
noticed
too.
that
Well, this time I did.
before as a kid. Yeah.
Only this time I noticed that. I was like, who has a? I guess you could have a statue of a fictional character if he's legendary. I'm like, why would you have a statue of Peter Pan?
Well,
But,
I think in the movie, the like quote unquote lore is that Wendy's family wrote the Peter Pan novels.
No.
No,
They knew the author. He was a neighbor. And they would always tell them these stories, and he was so encaptured by them that he wrote a book based on their stories.
Mm.
Oh, I was trying to figure it out because there's that like when the police arrive and they're like, well, you know, because your family's close ties to the literary or literature.
Oh,
And I was like,
I missed that
oh,
line.
wait, what?
Yeah, because at one point even the kids are like, "Oh, like was it Grandma Wendy? Like,
Oh, yeah,
is
I
she the
played
Wendy
you."
from the whatever?" Yeah. Also, they didn't even get a story by credit. They need a better arbitration letter.
I'll see you ass in court.
Also, wait, so was Wendy just going around telling stories to people about Neverland? She's like, I went to this place and we killed pirates and a man got shot for stealing a second base in a baseball game. It's like, what is
And we
wrong with you,
became
child?
friends, and then he married my granddaughter because I was old.
I'm old. Peter? So very much more than 20.
I think people would have started talking if I was still going around with this 10-year-old boy.
just this woman just periodically vanishes for weeks on end, like enough time that she had a house in Neverland.
my vacation home.
I was gonna say, I wonder what real estate prices are in Neverland.
Can you leave that in your will? I don't know.
I mean, it's not a lot of build space, right? So it's got to be pretty high demand real estate.
But labor and materials is just one kid thinking a house is there.
or a dozen pirates constructing an actual physical structure.
I can picture all the pirates finally finishing the house and looking over at a kid just like looks at a wall and just a house appears. They just drop their tools and leave.
Well, I almost wonder, like, is it, like, their imagination works, but not great, because like Wendy's house, it was just like a cave, but they've just probably imagined it to be a beautiful sprawling home.
It's like that scene in that National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. Emilio Estevez lives in a trailer on the beach, and he goes inside, and it's like literally shooting a mansion inside of his house. Like, it looks a lot bigger on the inside. I know it's only 3 days, but how long does a docked pirate stay a pirate before you're just like, you just live here and like you've settled on this island? How many?
They don't really commit acts of piracy, do they? It's like, who are you pirating?
I would love at one point during the movie, like an official to have to go to Hook and be like, you owe docking fees. You've been here for 4 days.
Right, because it's like a pirate town. Like, it's not that often you see a group of pirates that are responsible for all of the building and infrastructure for a civilization. Yeah. It's like, yeah, the pirates, they really run things, and like they have the government around here. It's like, what?
That sucks. The guy that's told second is the only guy that knows masonry work.
Just lost a skilled laborer.
My foundation needs reinforced.
The only thing is, if the whole thing of like pirates is, oh, they go and they pillage and they attack and they burn, but if your only two options in this universe is you're the Lost Boys or Tinkerbell, or you're a pirate, who are they pillaging? The Lost Boys have no assets. So are they pirates, or are they just kind of like guys who live on a boat?
Yeah, that's my point.
In some of like the extended reading,
in the sacred texts,
yeah, Neverland is technically the island of Avalon, like the Lost Islands, and the pirates ended up there by accident and got stuck there. So like they used to be like pirates of like the 12th, 13th century, and when they got to Neverland, they ended up getting trapped. So like they just kind of like then were pirates who lived forever.
Like, Captain, we're still going to need a retainer fee, even if we're not doing anything.
It's like, Captain, my contract on this voyage ran up like 40 years ago. Like,
you really can't tell me what to do anymore.
Fine, we'll move the ship. It's actually been so long, I don't remember how this works.
Oh, yeah, we killed the guy that knows how to run the ship like 6 years ago.
Like, we removed the rudder to build housing.
I remember saying to batten the hatches, but I don't know what that means.
I'll be honest, this wheel's not attached to anything. It's just spinning it loose.
It's like the rudder chains have gone for a long time, sir.
I feel like we're slowing down here. Do any scenes or any parts of the movie you feel like you haven't covered you want to bring up or talk about?
I covered all my notes. The only thing we didn't talk about, I guess, is the music. John Williams.
Johnny Williams. Oh, no, go ahead if you have a comment.
The Peter Pan theme, I didn't care for too much. It's the Hook theme that always got my attention every time it played.
That's the kind of slinky comedic kind of feel music. And what's the dun, 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 dun. Is that the Peter Pan music?
Dun, dun, dun,
There's a slower one.
We can't use this, John. Throw it away. Someday, Steven. Someday.
I mean, it's funny. There's a scene, or the scene in the Wendy's house, the cave, when he's learning how to use his power gens, that I would swear was a specific song from Star Wars, like one of the like darker like Dark Side of the Force like hum songs. And I was like, is that what that is? Sounds real close. It's like, John Williams, you're treading.
I used this music in one of my favorite films in college. I know that doesn't mean anything to anyone. It was one of our
I saw
one of our made in 24 hours movies.
Why don't we do that?
We should. Let's sponsor a 24-hour film festival.
Dean, fly out to us, or we'll all meet in middle ground in Nebraska.
I was like, halfway is not a great place to be.
We fly over those states for a reason. Sorry,
I love Nebraska.
Sorry, Nebraska listeners.
24-hour film festival, but all of the movies have to be some way related to Twister.
Yeah, let's sponsor one. I think the class above us, a couple guys in that started it at the school, and we did it the whole time we were there. And as soon as our class or the class below us we graduated, they stopped doing it. Like it was just for us, I guess.
So by sponsoring it, did they have to put up like prize money for it? It was literally just like,
it was
send
just
it in,
bragging
we'll
rights.
watch it all, and then you win.
It was bragging rights.
Publicity. Yeah.
We had a big dinner at Buca de Beppo, so that's where any of the money went, was like
Buca de Beppo?
towards dinner.
Yeah. Is that anything like Yakitori Sake has?
Sounds like you're trying to be mean to Italians.
Wait, you guys don't know what Buca de Beppo is?
It's not an East Coast chain.
There's one in Pittsburgh. That's
Pittsburgh's
the East
not
Coast.
the East Coast.
It
That's
is.
not East Coast. Get out of
Yes,
here.
it is.
It's almost Midwest.
It's the Mid-Atlantic.
Depends on what part of.
There's Buca de Beppo. Yeah, I don't know what it translates to, but that's what it's called. It's a family style. It's a chain, so it's a big. It's
Looking this up now.
But it's family style Italian.
I think we're all looking this up right
How do
now.
you spell this?
Bucadibeppo. A Buca de
Buca de
Beppo.
Beppo.
The name roughly translates as Joe's Small Place.
There you go.
It's okay, Dean. I knew what you were talking about.
Got him right in the Buca de Beppo.
You got him right in Joe's small place.
So we made a movie, Buca de Beppo, and we're done. But yeah, I know that's a super tangent based on talking about music, but it's hard for me to not think of that personal project when those themes come on. But I'll show you
It's
guys.
okay, Dean. You can use our podcast as your personal platform.
Let's do
Wait,
it.
there's two Buca de Beppos like within 20 miles of me.
Go get
knew
yourself
it.
some Buca de Beppos. Or get yourself some Joe's Small Place, I guess. That's weird.
It's actually still open. It closes in 12 minutes.
Looks way bigger to your 10-year-old.
I better see you guys meeting there to eat sometime soon.
That's actually, we'll do the next recording. We'll all go to Buca de Beppos that are closest to us, and we'll zoom in from there.
Yeah.
It's so fun to say.
Buca de Beppo.
It's like going to Fuddruckers as a kid.
And trying not to, and saying it really slowly so you don't say a swear word. That's how I would say it. I'd be like cautious around saying Fuddruckers.
Hey, can we go to, and my mother looks and I just see like one vein and I was like, Fuddruckers?
Because it looks like a swear. Final thoughts. Final summation of thoughts on the movie Hook. David, go.
While I have very fond memories of it growing up and have watched it dozens of times. Like, I used to watch this movie just all the time, like constantly. I used to love it. This was the first time I watched it in maybe 5-6 years. I didn't really like it. It felt too long and kind of wandered around and didn't really go anywhere for a really long time. And it's so funny because I mentioned it to my wife that like, oh, this is the movie that we're gonna rewatch, and like I saw it this time. She's like, oh, I don't really remember it. I don't know if I saw it. And like my soul said, oh, we should totally watch this. But then I was like, actually, no, I didn't really like it. So I'm in a weird place where I have so much nostalgia for it, but I'm like, I don't know if I'd really watch it anytime soon. It's this like I love this movie. I just don't like it.
I understand watching it critically now as an adult. I haven't watched this movie in, I don't know, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it. So I really wanted to see how it held up for me personally. And I guess the stuff I do love about it outweighs the issues I think the movie has. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the scene where it's his pockets. He's like the smallest.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like finding out that Peter, like he's like moving his face around to try to recognize him. He's like, "Oh, there you are, Peter," and they all come up, and it's like the music swells. Gets me every time. I still think it's a great scene, iconic scene. But yeah, there's moments like that peppered throughout the movie that it is long, but I'm entertained enough by everything that I don't think it deserves like what, a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
that low.
Yeah,
I would not go that far.
I know Rotten Tomatoes is just an aggregator of thumbs up or thumbs down, essentially. And I could get I would get more if it was more like 50% or some 55. That would make more sense to me.
Behind the scenes too, doesn't it? Like if it gets like a 32 on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not like out of 100 critics. It's more like out of 3 critics, one of them hated it, so that'll tank the score.
Yeah, it's a percentage of thumbs up and thumbs down, so it's positive or negative, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So I would see this more at a 55%. I mean, personally, I wouldn't put it that low still, but I should be at least that high, I think, because I understand the criticism.
I think it really could have just had a bitter benefit of a tighter edit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's its only problem, because there's a lot of good stuff there, but I feel what we watched was the ultimate director's cut, and I'd rather have seen the theatrical.
That's a good way of putting it.
The Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah.
the black and white hook. Yeah, I think the low score is just kind of like a knee-jerk reactionary thing of people deciding like, I liked this as a kid, I went back and rewatched it, and now I hate it. And it's like, do you hate it, or it's just not as good as you remember because now you're starting to see like some of the faults in it? Because at the end of the day, like, it's quality. It's still a Spielberg film. It still has a great cast. Seeing Robin Williams on screen anywhere is still just like a warm feeling, especially after he's gone. So it's definitely not deserving of a 28%, but I would say, yeah, probably sits more around like that 50-60.
Yeah, I think we can all, even though we have personal feelings about it, I think we all pretty much look at it from the same objective stance.
When Spielberg did Schindler's List, he would call Robin Williams just to kind of, raise the mood because of just how dark and dreary that movie was. And every time I would see that bit of trivia, I always wondered, like, where does... I guess everyone in Hollywood knows each other, but I completely forgot that they had this collaboration well before those two big... Like, this and Jurassic Park, because he was doing both at the same time. Before those two big movies that he did, like, he worked with them doing this, and I completely forgot.
Yeah, supposedly built a friendship between them, and that trivia speaks to it.
I don't know. I like this movie a lot. It's always been a childhood favorite, and even rewatching it as an adult, I still think it's there. I enjoy it a lot, and it's still my favorite Peter Pan movie.
Valid.
Even with some of the other ones that I've seen since, I've seen more than that. Just leading up to the last couple of years is when I didn't watch all of them. So having seen the rest, this one still is my favorite out of them all. Even over the Disney one from like the 50s, I like this one the best.
That about wraps up this episode of Screen Refresh. As always, you can reach us at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Screen Refresh, or shoot an email to screenrefresh@gmail.com to let us know what you thought about Hook, or to suggest future movies we could talk about. Also, we now have a Discord. Please come over and say hello to us and get behind-the-scenes tidbits on your favorite episodes. I don't know what we could talk about behind the scenes, but...
Play grids against us.
We'll be there to do it with you.
as it comes to violent blows.
Catch us next on Rule of Thirds, which is every third Monday of the month. And you can also listen to our sister podcast, Don't Open This Podcast, hosted by this podcast co-host Tim and Mike Falsigno every second and fourth Monday of the month. For all of us here at Screen Refresh, have a great month, and we'll see you next time.
You're all my lost boys. I'll never forget you.
What kind of Freddy Krueger shit is that? You're all my lost boys now. As he comes
That's
out
what
at
he
the
says.
pool.
That's what he says at the end of the movie.
Does he?
Yeah,
That's what
before
Freddy
he
Krueger
leaves.
says to the, all. Oh,
No,
that's what.
in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy literally steps out at the pool at a party and all the kids are there and he's like, "You're all my children now." Same
Oh, no,
energy.
Pan says right before he takes off, like, "You're all my lost boys. I'll never forget you. Never."
See you in your dreams.